My wonderful guest is Jeanne Sullivan Bellucci, the soulmate coach and author of Be the Soulmate You Want to Attract. Now, she has inspired and entertained millions with her extraordinary midlife story, literally calling in her husband. And I really wanted Jeanne to be part of this event to show you how quickly your relationship life can change, as it was overnight after
Mhm.
drafting a bold new dating profile that she met her soulmate, now her husband. Jeanne is a certified life coach and a Reiki master, and she helps high achieving empaths, that's many of us, stop attracting dating projects. We'll talk about that in a minute, and instead raise their vibration to receive the soulmate partner who truly supports you and elevates you. It feels so aligned to have this opportunity with Jeanne. Welcome.
Thank you so much. It's so wonderful to be on your show again.
Oh, thank you. Well, we're going to look at dating for empaths and how to
Mm.
attract a partner, not a project. But before we dive into that, for those of whom are here and haven't met you or don't know you, what do you do and who do you serve?
So I am a certified law of attraction life coach. So I do everything a life coach does, but through the lens of law of attraction. So it's all about vibration. And I really focus on high achieving empaths, as you said so beautifully. I love it in your accent. So sounds so much better. I help them stop being project managers in relationships, whether they turn up as the boss in relationships or the caretaker. They're drained and they're
Yeah,
always looking for someone's potential and spending all of their energy trying to get them to lift up and to stand up and align, and it just doesn't work. And so I help them to stop those patterns and learn how to receive. So that's the big thing. Learn
yeah,
how to
yeah,
receive this partner that is waiting to come in if we
yeah,
would just allow it.
yeah. And we'll talk a little bit more about this allowing, but um, I want to go a little bit deeper into what the project um, scenario is. And we probably know, but let's really clarify why so many empaths are wired to attract that type of person.
Yeah. Well, maybe it's best if I just quickly share my story because I was the
Yes.
queen of the project managers, as I like to call it. So the interesting thing about law of attraction, what many don't realize, and why so many empaths don't realize what the issue is because in other areas of their life, they are badass manifestors. I had a career, I manifested my dream job like that. I competed against hundreds of people. I manifested it. So I was thinking, I always identified as I've done all this work on myself. I'm really able to manifest whatever I want. It's not me. It was me. And I think that with most empaths, the reason I think sometimes we're just born that way, but sometimes we're made into empaths or it's exacerbated by trauma. And so with me, my big wound was that I felt I had to earn love, as many empaths do. I felt overly responsible for the other person, other people, managing their comfort level, helping to rise them up. In a way, it was a distraction from my own goals.
Mm, mm.
But and sometimes that's that's a way that empaths like avoid working on their stuff. But in other cases, it's truly that they're so wired to get other people's approval and to please others and to heal others. It's where they get their self-esteem from in relationships.
And to make other people happy so that they feel they've done a sort of good job.
100%. And a lot of times I've found that it's because they're a lot of how they were raised. A lot of times when they tried to set boundaries and take care of themselves, they were called selfish. The
Mm,
people around them usually did not step up for their little empath. And so
yes.
they would shame the empath for trying to be more in balance, if that makes sense.
It really does. And I think sometimes, because it happened to me, so I'm going to mention it, is as empaths, we feel so much and we can be quite, let's call it emotional. And I say that positively. We have emotion, we're passionate. There's so much we want to do, give, receive, the whole lot. However, we may have been told when we were younger, negatively, you are too emotional. Stop it now. Become, hold it in, hold it together. And so then we retreat into ourselves and
Hmm.
create a way of being. Have you found that as well with empaths?
Absolutely. I think that's 100% true. And in my case, I wasn't allowed to be angry as a child. And there was a lot to be angry about. And so I would stuff it down. And that's why I got to 23 stone, frankly, as I was just angry,
Yeah, yeah,
That's how that is how I coped with my feelings is I
yeah.
comforted myself and self-soothed through food. Not the healthy way to do it, but that's how I did it. And by the time I was ready to date my husband, I had just come off of a trail of one-sided relationships where I would see their potential and I would have trouble breaking up with them when I could tell they were never going to rise up. I would always be honest. I'm looking for marriage. That's my agenda. But they just could not get there. They could not commit. And so I had to look at the fact that there is a pattern and I'm the one in common. And so I realized as I got more into law of attraction for myself that it's because I myself was ambivalent about
Mm,
commitment. And the reason being is through my whole life, I identified being in relationship as I'm doing all the work.
mm,
And that there was this hidden fear that I was doomed to repeat that over and over again, even though I just wanted my partner so badly. And so what I wound up doing is I took a couple of years off of dating. And I went to therapy, I studied with some coaches, I went to a lot of Hay House conventions and things like that. And then I started to challenge myself, let me make myself happy first. I realized I was always tagging my happiness onto someone else being there to support me, which is odd because I didn't need it in other areas. So I said, I'm just going to get brave and I'm going to go open up that business that scares me, that I know I need for my health. I can't work in a toxic corporate environment anymore.
mm,
It was wildly successful. Wish I had done it sooner. I traveled the world by myself, not having to factor in anyone else and what they wanted. It was like coming home to myself. And so when I put myself out there on the dating apps, I think I've told you this before. At first, I was just attracting really young guys. I was this accidental cougar, right?
mm,
Um, and what they all were telling me was, I look so fun, I look so confident. But they said, because of the age difference, you're probably not going to want to marry me or have my baby. And that's very attractive. And I
mhm.
was like, oh dear, there's something wrong with my profile. And so I rewrote my profile. And as I often say, flew my freak flag, unapologetically authentic. I put all the things in there I knew would scare most men away. And the thing that was so magical is when I embraced that and I just said, you know what? This is who I am. I'm just tired of putting on this act to be more appealing, to appeal to the masses. The magic of it is I posted it, I let go of the how and the when, and I felt so much peace that night. And I said, I just got to go live my life. The universe will provide. I just got to stop focusing on it. And then the next morning, my husband and several other age appropriate, values appropriate men winked at me, and one was my husband.
I want to really pick up on this because Something that you said that I want the women that are watching or listening to this to really hear, because I think a lot of us are really, we can become quite worried about it, um, is owning ourselves, our truth, our desires, what we want, however, and I'm going to say it like this, outrageous they might seem to others, even sometimes to ourselves. But when we actually own them, we are becoming integral in who we are. There's an
Hmm.
authenticity and there's a energy that is a truth energy that goes out. And that truth energy attracts back truth. And when we have, yeah, really aligned, the truth that comes back is the soulmate attraction, the right person.
Hmm.
And like you said, you had more than one. It
Hmm.
suddenly goes from almost famine to feast. And within that
Over.
is the person. And because so many women here will be exactly, it's very high achieving, they want the best in their life, they've done so well in other areas. It's like, why not love? And love becomes so important to us when we don't have it. And our emotions become quite large and magnified. And it's actually about owning exactly what we want. And the reason I say it like this, and I know I'm reflecting exactly what you said, but it's because I've been there. And
Hmm.
I was single for years and I was down in the dumps and I was very depressed. But when I got myself together, I went, you know what? I know what I want. It's crazy, but I'm going to go for that. Oh, there he is within no time. So I
Yeah.
want everyone to hear that. He comes, it doesn't take long, it can be in no time. So, yeah, I love that. Shall we talk a little bit about um, be that soulmate that you want to
Hmm.
attract? I know that's within your book as well, but let's talk about it here because what we're doing is we want everyone to know that when you step into your sovereignty, this is sovereign love. Sovereign love is grounded, it's bold, it's confident, it's divine, it's special, it's magnetic. Then you do magnetize this higher love. Um, let's put it this way: how or what does sovereignty mean in dating, and how can
Hmm.
empaths embody it in a way that boosts that magnetism?
Great question. I think really where to start is what you were touching on earlier, the unapologetic authenticity. That is just really coming to peace with who you are, shadow and light. Um, Owning your gifts, I think, is a big part of it. A lot of times, empaths are here for a much bigger reason, something to do with healing the world in their corner of it. And they often will use relationships. Not, I don't think they're doing it on purpose, like consciously, but they're focused on everybody else's goals instead of their own. And I think when you take that back to yourself, like what I did is like, you know what, I want to open my business. I'm tired of waiting. I want to go travel. I'm tired of waiting. When you kind of take ownership of what your purpose is and what your soul is aching to do, and you make your heart happy on your own, it's such an empowering feeling that that translates into the most delicious magnetic energy. Even though I was 23 stone and some people thought of me as intimidating, I felt I'm a catch. Like, I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but that's really okay. I finally got to that point. And it was that delicious energy that these men, you had to see how they expressed appreciation for my profile at my size, which a lot of women would found hard to believe until I showed them pictures. It's not about your size or age, it's your vibe,
It's
100%.
totally that, and that's why I really want to go into this in this particular event is about that frequency, the
Mhm.
embodiment of it. not having ordinary love. No, we're not settling, having the extraordinary love we're meant for.
Yeah.
Let's go a little bit deeper because you're a certified law of attraction life coach. And
Hmm.
so you're going to have a really good depth of understanding of why we as women often manifest what we don't want in love, why it happens,
Hmm.
and we want to go to the positive always, what practices can help women receive
Hmm.
soulmate lovers look like an inevitable. We want
Hmm.
that certainty.
Well, that's a great question as well. And the main thing is what is happening is since we're talking to achievers, right? So we are rewarded in the office or our business for focus, 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 and get it done and make it happen. If somebody says no, you make them say yes and all that, and you get rewarded for that. It's a very masculine energy. In love, that is not the energy that works. And what winds up happening is, especially if it's a straight woman looking for a straight man, that achiever, push, push, make it happen energy, it's not that men don't want a strong woman, as many women believe. Research says differently. But what happens is when a man perceives that you can't be vulnerable with them, which a lot of empaths who've been hurt many times and let down many times, they are unconsciously projecting, I don't need you energy. I got this. I don't need you. And so what's happening is they're pursuing the relationship. They're trying to make it happen. I'll give you a great example. So I have a very dear friend. She has a background of attracting narcissists. And I have begged her to please take a break from dating and learn to receive. And when you go through the process you and I were talking about, where you really embody your own happiness and you just relax about it and you don't need it so much, because that pursuit is really an energy of doubt, of fear.
Yeah.
I said, if you just focused on your own happiness and just relaxed about it, I promise you, that will be more productive than all these strategies of where am I going to meet him? How am I going to get him to text back? And she was sending me these messages. I'm so angry he hasn't texted me back. And I said, why don't you just thank the universe that he's not a match for you? So
Yeah.
that it's really about receiving. It's focusing too much on what they're afraid is going to happen, which is what drives that tense, why I have to figure out why he's not texting me back kind of energy. That's what's driving it is doubt. So if you could get to a point where you're just happy in your own life, I know people don't necessarily want to hear that,
Mm, mm,
but it doesn't take that long if you just focus on what you do want. And the best thing is you want to raise your vibration to at least contentment. So
yeah.
contentment, optimism, joy, try to spend more time in that energy. If for one more thing, real quick, so if you're having trouble with that, like if you're in like really deep frustration about dating, don't try to jump to contentment. Like I'm content with my life. Choose another subject that's easy for you to feel contentment or above, joy, optimism. Just give yourself the opportunity to be in that vibration. That will make it easier for you to get that way in dating. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And I want to pick up on something because you're absolutely right. When we are single and we've been single for a while and somebody says, just be happy with your life, it does feel like red rag to a bull. Because no, but I just want to be with my soulmate. But really, what we're saying is when we can be happy with who we are and with our life, that is going to speed it up. That's what I want everyone to hear. Nobody said that to me, and they may not have said that to you, Jeanne, either. So I want that to be heard that we want it to be sped up. We want all of our clients to meet their soulmates ASAP, but in the right way, the right person. And it is about really honing in on ourselves, our inner
Mm-hmm.
self, connecting to that, allowing ourselves to um, not just like everything about ourselves or our life, but also to accept the things that went wrong, the
Hmm.
trauma, to own it and go, well, that was part of me. So that's who I am.
Hmm.
So that we're not having that negative energy of, I want to hide something from my soulmate. And I remember when I actually said to my soulmate that I've got something to tell him, which was my trauma and what had happened to me. And I did it at the right time. We'd got to know each other, but owning it with, I didn't need him to say sorry. I didn't need him to hug me. I didn't need anything from him. I just need to own it and voice it. The dynamic of connection was amazing.
Hmm.
And so this is what I want everyone to hear: as we really own ourselves, warts and all. This is how we speed up that energy. The vibration starts to happen naturally.
Yes, and it's funny because so I got my favorite call, as I know it's your favorite call to get this week. One of my clients, probably one of my hardest challenges, said that she met her person, and she was in a
Oh,
state of shock because she finally got what she wanted, and she's like panicking a little bit. And I said, I was there too when I first got what I wanted, like so quickly. I was like, whoa. Um,
yes.
and so she started to feel a little bit of her resistance creeping up. And I said, the main thing to do is to keep relaxing, just allow him to demonstrate reciprocity and consistency. Don't rush in there to close the deal. Just sit back, let him prove. But also, when when you do get to your first argument, touch it, go in within your heart instead of turning it into the story of, well, I need to win this argument or I need to make sure he doesn't take advantage of me, that power struggle, which we get so stuck in. Just get, like you said, just get into your own heart and own your side of the contrast. And when you speak to the other person without blame and just saying with vulnerability, it's amazing how the other person will just rise to the occasion and the connection just amplifies.
Yes. Oh, yes. That's something to really hear. The argument, the first argument, no pointing fingers. Really own what you
Yeah.
can so that they don't feel offended, but they will start to see what's going on as much as you will see what's going on. Beautiful. Um, let's just do a little bit about this chemistry thing, because when we do first meet somebody, there will be that wow, 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 chemistry, and chemistry and love, and that going for chemistry or running from chemistry. I know you've got a way of unpacking it that's going to
Yeah.
be so more eloquent than I'm going to even try and ask. Can you explain that for us,
Yeah.
please?
I just want to give, I really appreciate this opportunity because sometimes when I talk about this, people get a little defensive about it. And that's not my intention. My intention is to share information. And I used to talk about this strictly from a spiritual level because the Buddhists see this the way I do. And that is when you meet your soulmate, it is not going to feel like butterflies, super excitement. It's not going to feel like a roller coaster. But if we're empaths because of trauma, when we have that lack of excitement, which is really anxiety, um, when we don't have that, we translate it in our brains as there's no chemistry, it's boring.
Mm.
Buddhists believe that a real soulmate, when we are in a healthy place, will feel peaceful, not boring. Think of it more like a pleasurable bubble bath,
Mm.
just relaxing. You can be yourself, no artifice, no pretending, no performing for acceptance. There's something very delicious about that. Now, I found that with my husband on the very first date. I didn't feel excitement. I didn't feel like I had to jump his bones right away. I just didn't feel that. But the friendship vibe, which by the way, is where most couples, happy couples meet, is when they're first focusing on friendship. That's also
Mm,
statistically true. But the reason that I'm saying all this is that neuroscience backs me up now. So, neuroscience says that most of us unconsciously are choosing the people we choose because of three bonding hormones. And without going into too much detail, the way I see it is these bonding hormones are kind of gaslighting us into ignoring red flags, picking people who are really more dangerous for our nervous system, or just not the right match. These bonding hormones are really the primitive part of your biosystem of choosing who would be a good mate, even if you don't want kids. I've seen people in their 70s like committed to having this very big sexual spark. And then people will say to me, but I can't not have chemistry. I have to have sexual attraction. And I said, I'm not saying you shouldn't have sexual attraction, but it should not be the primary thing bringing you together.
mm,
And when that is the primary thing, and you know it by how you're behaving. If your body is just relaxing and just like my husband and I were giggling over the dumbest things on our first date that were very unsexy. We both realized we have sleep apnea, so we both were laughing. Well, if we get together, we're like two sexy Darth Vaders at night with our CPAP masks. We both had the same orthopedic sneakers. I mean, not sexy, but we just giggled. It was so funny to us,
mm.
right? Two little nerds together, right? But when I realized that I could relax and just be 100% myself, I don't have to be worried about being made fun of. It, the sex, when you can just let everything go, not worry about every pocket of fat, every wrinkle, it is so much more rewarding than the guys I would have been with, where I felt like I was sucking in my stomach, checking my makeup, checking my hair. When you're doing all that, that's bonding hormones.
Yeah, I love this because what I want also for everyone to hear from what you've just said is that that type of connection has depth. The
Hmm.
piece you talked about is like you can actually be yourself.
Hmm.
It feels so grounded, and there is a divine part to it as well that comes out. And it comes out in the most beautiful way that we almost can't describe because it's so individual to each
Hmm.
soulmate partnership. So
Hmm.
it's lovely to be able to let everyone here know that and have that awareness because it will
Hmm.
allow more of an opportunity for your soulmate to come into your life.
Hmm.
Now,
100%.
because we're really focusing on just a sort of a short connection today, Jeanne, I'd love to also ask you about um, the wisdom is so beautiful, but I know
Thank you.
also it's lovely to carry this on. And you've got a special offer gift for our
I
listeners
do.
and viewers to help them with their soulmate attraction journey. What is it? And can you explain a little bit about it?
Sure. So I have a free quiz. Part of all of this of raising your vibration is forgiving yourself, overcoming limiting beliefs, changing your mind about what's possible for you, but you need the information on what is your pattern, what are your limiting beliefs. So I drafted a fun quiz called Soulmate Attraction, What's Distorting Your Love Frequency? And you take the quiz and then it'll give you a result, and then the result will start to explain some tips on how you can start shifting that resistance. And then if you want, if you feel like you need more help, you can, either come on a free consultation or whatever you feel you need to do to address it.
Yeah.
And I think it's a really great way to start. It's a great free tool that anyone can use.
Oh, That's wonderful. This has been such a gem of a conversation. And I love the shining light that you bring because there's such clarity with resonance. And that's how we absorb information as well. Thank you for offering your treasures of wisdom. I know our audience, viewers will hold this interview as something, well, it's like a transmission of information that they can return to whenever they need to. Remember what is possible in love and what that means for them individually. Thank you so much, Jeanne.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next one.
Yes, for certain.